Good morning, my fellow Africans and the world at large. This is Emmanuel Mensah coming into your homes and your minds once again with a message of empowerment and enlightenment. Today is the 9th of March, the year 2022, and the Bible says we should be glad and rejoice in it. Life is beautiful. Life is something that we need to rejoice and enjoy it. For we did not create it. In the same way, we do not do anything to get it. It was given to us for free, and anything given to you for free must be enjoyed. Life is beautiful. God brought us on this earth for fulfillment, for us to be uplifted, but it is based on a condition that we will apply the truth of life, the laws and the principles governing us to make a beautiful and a wonderful life. And as it is with all laws, obedience comes with freedom, and disobedience comes with bondage. You end up being punished or be put behind bars. And that is how it is. The human being is not just an object, but you are made in the image and the likeness of God with our own laws. And so long as we obey the laws, our life becomes beautiful and wonderful. So today I'm going to talk to you about one principle in the universe. And that principle is that nature unaided fails. Nature unaided fails. So as human beings, we find ourselves in the world, and according to the Bible, that God created everything. He made a way for man to appear. So when man appeared, everything was there for him. And if you read the book of Genesis, he said, we've been given the power and the dominion over everything. And that is, we are the masters. And then in the same book, the Bible tells us that God put Adam in the Garden of Eden and gave and told him, this is your place, but you are supposed to work it and keep it. Tend it and keep it. Whatever, however you make it to be, that becomes your portion. It is your own thing to build. And that is us. As a matter of fact, the book of Genesis, that creation story, is what we call an allegory. It is not a true story, but it is an allegory they used to present the truth about human nature. So Adam is everyone as we move on in our world. And our Garden of Eden or Eden is our lives. We are to use our mind to make our lives glorious and beautiful. And if you look at the word, the writers of the Bible choose the word is very careful that Adam was supposed to tend it and keep it. So in our lives, whatever you make your life, however you define your life, it becomes your own property. You enjoy it or you endure it. You can be on the same bed with your wife, depending on how either of you will choose to process things. One will have sleepless night and the other will sleep very well. But the two of you were told of a piece of information the same way or at the same time. It happens all over. If you choose to involve yourself in drugs, the effects of the drug will not come to any other person other than you. And as we all know, no man or woman can take poison and expect that the one sitting by him or her that never took the poison would die in his stead. It is the one that took the poison that is going to die. And it is the same way. However, you use your mind, the effect, the results will be yours. So today, I'm going to look at how, as Africans, we have responded to this call given to us. God created us, and by divine plan, we find ourselves in on different continents, in different areas. And if you look at the continents, the African continent is inhabited as black people. I don't want to go back to history, but as far as we are now, we are, this time is concerned, if you come to Africa, it is purely Africans. If you go to Europe, merely the white people. If you go to Asia, you have the Asians too. So I will take it on that level. No confusion, no complication at all. So if you look at this continent, each continent is developed based on how the people that live or are living on that continent have used their minds. But today it's so broad, so I want to limit our discussion or my message to one particular thing, and that is the way we develop our children, the way we develop ourselves. Psychology tells us that a child's first teacher is the mom and dad, the parents. A child's early socialization begins from home. So, whatever the child will grow to be is what he or she gets in the early stage, what we pump into them. So, if you look at societies, if you look at tribes, if you look at races, there are some things that runs through each race, and that becomes our identity, our personality. And no one can change it for us. We have to work on it to change it. So if you look at the Europeans, the way they train their children right at the beginning is different from how Africans we train our children at the beginning. What we say to them, what we put into them. And the same is the Asians. But there are basic things that we all do, and that is eating. If you look at our lives, the first thing a child learns from the parents is how to learn to eat. When you learn to eat and you grow up to a certain point, then you are taught how to dress, how to wash yourself, and all these things. But the first thing that a child would do in his or her life in the hands of the parent is for the child to be taught how to eat. First, we begin with finger foods, liquid, and then finger foods, and then it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. In all this process, the child is encouraged to learn, and the learning begins or learning comes with the application of the mind. So, when we talk of the personality of any group of people, it begins from this level. What we put into the child, what are how we the people help the child to begin to use the mind, the level at which the child is encouraged to use the mind. And if you look at the races that we have, the Europeans, the Asians, and the Africans, you will realize that we think differently. As a matter of fact, if you've ever met some of these Asians, young men, how they think with their minds, sometimes it's quite fascinating. And most people always say these people are like computers. And also, when you look at, if you meet any children that were brought up in Europe and other places, Their way of thinking is different from the way a child that was born and raised in Africa. And it all comes back to what I'm telling you right now. So a child's early learning is or begins from the learning how to eat. So if you look at our setup, the Europeans, by divine guidance or whatever, I will not say divine, it is out of someone sitting down and taking upon himself or herself. They develop a set of rules for how to eat and what to use to eat. So they moved from the use of hands into what they call a set of cutlery. And let me make this point. There has never been any group of people that never used their hands. Every group of people, right from the beginning, were using our hands. But as we evolve and we begin to go higher, then the human being begins to look for things that will make him more comfortable and also help him to learn and to develop the children. So there is a reason behind the Europeans adopting the set of cutlery instead of the hand. And then if you go to the Asians, they took something that is even more remarkable, extraordinary. They used the eating sticks. And if you have never seen this, go to YouTube and you will see how the children are learned and how they grasp these skills. If you see a Chinese or a Korean young child, a child using these two sticks to pick grains of rice and eat a bowl of rice, you will marvel. But the first thing is, what are they doing to the child? As I started, the early school of a child is in the home. And the way the child is encouraged to use the mind is through the teachings that the parent gives. So the Asians, they adopt this complex thing. So at the children at the early stage, they train them to use the eating sticks to pick rice, which is a daunting task. So by the time the child grasps this, and the child has already used his or her mind at an advanced level, that is developing the mind of the child. But when it comes to our setup, Africa, we never gone for anything, but we settle for what everyone started with. And we are still using our hands to eat. It is all good. It has all its advantages, and people have even come up with all theories why we should actually go back using our hands. But the other side of it is that a child that has been taught to use his or her hands to eat, and a child that has been taught to use two eating sticks to pick grains of rice, and a child that has been taught to learn how to eat with a set of cutlery with rules where to put the fork, where to put the knife, and when you finish eating, how to place all these things. Who has exercised his or her mind? And obviously, it is the one that has used the eating stick and then the one that has used a set of cutlery to eat with your hands. As a matter of fact, some of us, when we were growing up, especially when you go out and you are hungry, you come home, the food is there. You don't even wash your hands well. It's just putting your hands in the water just to convince your parents that you've washed your hands. And then we eat. So you see that there is no learning at an advanced level with how we've done that. And as we do all these things, we always think that we are doing a culture or we are following a culture. But what we are forgetting is that we are molding a certain personality that does not use his or her mind to do things. So you realize that the African setup, we are always people that are lazy to think. We don't think. And when it comes to someone sitting down, looking at something, observe it, and develop interest in it, and begin to follow it to look for an answer, that concept is not in the African. And that is why We lack all these inventions and other things because we have not been taught right from the beginning to do that. And as the book of Proverbs says, teach a child the way he should go, and when he grows, he will not depart from it. That is what the Bible means. Take the child through a certain path, mold the child, and by the time the child grows up, it becomes part of his or her subconscious beliefs. And they will do it naturally. To be honest with you, every way of eating was not designed for adults, it was designed for children, for them to learn. And by the time they become an adult, it is part of their life because an adult, you don't have to learn how to eat. Unless, of course, maybe African, you go to Asia, then you want to use the chopsticks, or maybe you go to Europe. But all these things are designed for children, and the children learns it, it becomes part of them, and they grow with it. And so you will see that we have developed our own personality, and a personality that does not use the mind. We do not use our minds. We think of the physical thing, but the mind to do things and to actually go into deeper level to look at things, we do not. So you see that the African personality that we are talking all the time was was molded and shaped based on how we have chosen to define our lives. And as the Bible says, whatever a man sows is what he will reap. So we have created our own personality that we lack that evolutionary way of doing things. So we sit down, and whenever things happens to us, we expect other people to come and help us. We take one task, then it becomes so difficult. So it's difficult. Let's just go and look for this person to come and work it out for us. It is because we haven't been trained right from the beginning to use our minds. And these are the things that we have to begin to analyze as Africans. If we want to change our way of life, if we want to be at the level where other people are, then we have to begin to analyze our setup. That is what we call re-engineering. Every group of people do this re-engineering of the social setup. They phase out all things that are not working for them, that are not at the level of current evolutionary trends. They adopt others from somewhere, or they create a new ones to move themselves forward. And they begin it with children. It's just unfortunate that today, when you go to Africa, the African child is only being taught to pray, believing that things will fall from heaven to come and fall in front of them. So the child doesn't think. The child that was going to bed, the parents read books about how magical things will happen and that and that and that. And the child that was asked to bombard evil spirits, the child that goes to bed with fear of evil spirits. Which of them will grow to become empowered person? So when I said in my other episode that whatever thing that we are going through is in us, it's in us because we sowed it into our own setup. And it is our responsibility to begin to analyze all these things in plain and analytical way. The African has not got that spirit where we take up things, do inquiry, and then look for solutions and bring out improvement. The African way of learning is chewing and pouring, get the exams, pass the exams, and that is all. To be honest with you, I know most of people that you be school together. When you mention or when you talk of even reading a book about what we have learned back in school, they will tell you, "Oh, I don't even remember the last time I visited that." They move on and they got jobs, and what they do is they do only the rudimentary things that is given in the job, and that is what you become. But the fact is, God has given us a garden. He told Adam that tend it and keep it. And in the same way, God has given us our world that we are to tend it, make it beautiful or make it sour for ourselves. But the fact is, whichever way, we are going to enjoy it. And that is what we are seeing in Africa. There is no one impeding our progress. There is no one making us suffer. But it is our own selves that are making us where we are. Because we haven't been able to evolve ourselves to the level where we are able to look at things and turn them into greater things. The spirit of inquiry is not in the setup of the African because our forefathers depended on gods. So anything that falls on the ground, they go and seek gods. When I came to North America, I grew up in the northern part of Ghana. And even there used to be this wild wind. I don't know whether that is the right name. So in the dry season, in the Hamatan season, sometimes you were walking and you would see the wind turning around and then it carries the dust. It could be something it's similar to what we have in North America as tornado. And growing up as a young man or as a young child, I have seen where when these things happen, you see the grown up, the priest running with eggs and throwing it into this kind of natural phenomenon that they are evil spirits. I came to North America only to realize that, only to see that we even have people who have made it their profession that they chase tornadoes. They analyze it, they look at it, and they've studied it, and now they understand it. They are doing a lot of things. I have been in Ghana, and I have heard how the sea could be rough when it comes that way. Even where I grew up, on the Volta Lake, when things are not happening, the elders go and then they pour libation. But there's Europeans and other people, they study how the waves, when the waves are up, they saw it to be another form of recreation. So they brought what we call surfing. So the waves that we are praying to the gods to quench them, some people have taken it and then they've made it a recreation. And now we look at it and we admire it. We are in the same world. We are facing the same things, phenomena. But it is those who have opened their minds and are receptive to the voice of the Spirit and follow. They are those that will lead and make their lives beautiful. God has blessed Africa so much, but we haven't been able to make the blessings of God a reality. And that is our determination. The call to every one of us is that God has given us a garden, our God of Eden, garden. And it is our responsibility to make that garden a heaven on earth or a hell on earth. As it is now, we are creating our own hell. And it is our responsibility to stop it. And that is by bringing ourselves back home. We need to gather. We need to gather in our schools. We need to gather under our trees, have public discussion, open discussion about the African setup. What is going on? What is doing well and what is not doing well? There are a lot of things that in the African setup, if we are able to develop and make it to another level, the whole world will come to embrace it. We haven't done that. The whole world will come to embrace it. The world is a place of evolution, and the world is a place of buying and selling. If you package your things well, people will buy. Our culture, if we are able to revise it and sell it to other people, they will buy it. It's just that we haven't been able to sell it. We want to present our culture in its crudest form. And People have moved on beyond that, so they will not buy it. So if they are not buying, they know that they are racist. But we have been indolent, that we haven't been able to take action to make things work. So as I started, God has given us our Garden of Eden, and that is the African continent. And however we will decide to make it work, however we will tend it, that will be our portion. But the fact is, so long as we are still going against the laws of our nature, and so long as we are still not being awakened to this truth, foreigners will travel from far and near to always come and exploit us. And that is God, the universe, sending us messages that the direction we are going is not the right direction. All that we need is to repent. But it is our responsibility to be awakened to this and take the first step. And I know the power that God has given us, we will be able to turn everything, every bad thing that we see on the African continent, into a paradise. Africa, we have the greatest opportunities because we have the greatest difficulties. Once we turn the difficulties, the problems into solutions, answers, it becomes opportunity. And that is how we will rise and lead the world. Thank you very much. God bless you. May the overshadowing presence of God that keeps the stars from falling on us and keeps the planets in their orbit without clashing, keep you, lead you, and direct you as we all forge ahead towards the creation and the realization of the new Africa. Thank you once again. And my name is Emmanuel Mensah.